Welcome to the Personal Development School YouTube channel. This is a place where we talk about the new attachment theory called integrated attachment theory, the subconscious mind, and a whole bunch of different factors that can really improve the quality of your life and especially the quality of your relationships. So first and foremost, in this video, we are going to cover how to save your relationship with three key ingredients. And we're going to talk about why these matter and how to really leverage these ingredients to facilitate rapid transformation. So one of the first things, and this is what always blew my mind when I was working with clients, is how many people would come to me in my client-based practice and say things like, my relationship is on the rocks. We've been going through a really troubled time. We've been married for a decade and we just can't seem to get out of this like ongoing rut for years. And I would say, well, what do you need to feel fulfilled in a relationship? What are your relationship needs? And people would just look at me blankly. And I would think like, how, if you don't know your needs, are you ever going to get them met by your partner? And what you need to understand about relationships is just like the human body as an organism has needs, right? We have the need for water. We have the need to breathe air. We need these things in order to survive. Just like we have things that sort of constitute as the lifeblood for our survival, there are also things within the organism of a relationship that constitute as the lifeblood of that relationship. And this has to do with our relationship needs. Now, each attachment style usually has unique needs. That is a conversation for another time. And if you want to do a deeper dive into that, you can check out any of our attachment style courses for free for 7 days using the link below that will help you see exactly what you need in a relationship to thrive, depending on your attachment style. We also have a free attachment style quiz down below. But when you're looking at this idea of how to save your relationship, you have to understand like, what are my individual needs as a person? What are my needs from my relationship? For some people, them being in a healthy, thriving relationship looks like feeling like they are supported, like they are accepted, like they are deeply understood, like their viewpoints are validated, like their partner challenges them to grow, but in a way that's kind and healthy and harmonious, and there's not a lot of arguing or fighting involved. For other people, their relationship needs are to feel wanted, to feel special, to feel significant to their partner, to see that they are a priority, to have a lot of quality time or physical touch in a relationship. So everybody has unique needs, but the really interesting thing is that usually you and your partner's needs are different in a relationship than each other. And what that means is that if you don't understand what your needs are and you don't understand what your partner's needs are, it's like you trying to survive as a human being, not knowing that you need to drink water to quench that awful feeling of thirst, or that you need to breathe air to survive. Like, it's really limiting your ability to do relationships effectively. So one of the first ingredients that's of the utmost importance is to do some self-discovery into what your unique and individual needs are, and into what your partner's unique and individual needs are. And then to have, number two, communication about it. Another huge, I would say, absolute non-negotiable in relationships, if you're trying to get off the rocks and into like a better path, is to learn how to communicate about what you need for the relationship to change. Do you need more trust built in the relationship? And if so, how can you communicate about that? Does that happen through consistency, congruency, more transparency between each other into what's going on? Context for things that are happening that you're taking personally or you're confused about. Like, if you can look into some of these different dynamics and communicate about them, then it is going to help you meet each other's needs, AKA you actually feed and nourish the lifeblood of your relationship, and then also have the necessary conversations to get clear on how to do that and exactly what that looks like for each of you individually. And again, this is just such an important dynamic overall. And communication has to involve a few crucial steps. Number one, to communicate, we have to understand what our personal issue is that we are trying to communicate, because otherwise you're going to get stuck in a state of wanting to communicate, but just feeling a sense of learned helplessness around it. Number two, you're going to have to learn to validate your partner's perspective, even if it's different than your own. They may say, hey, I need more freedom in a relationship. And for me, that looks like just having time alone sometimes, or being able to take a trip, with my friends for the weekend by myself. It may look like that. For somebody else, that might feel like a threat if it's different than your needs, but we have to learn to see that not everybody has the same subconscious programming and orientation and desires in a relationship that we do. You will almost never find a partner who has the exact same ones as you do. And communication about those different things and being able to validate each other's perspectives is such an important and empowering component of this. And then number three, there's a key ingredient required here of vulnerability. If you are not able to be vulnerable, to open up, to share about these things, then it's going to feel limiting. And sometimes I see people like learn their needs and get better at communicating, but they're holding back about like what they're feeling and how their needs are really affecting them. So for example, if somebody says to you, and by the way, if you want like a whole course just on needs, you can check out our needs course for free using the link down below for 7 days as well. It's more than enough time to get through a course and to know exactly what you need as a person and in your relationships to thrive. So I have some exciting news, which is that we are doing $1,000 off of our lifetime membership sale to the Personal Development School, which means you get access to literally everything at PDS for your entire rest of your life. Essentially, that entails all of our different courses you have lifetime access to. I do 4 live webinars a week, every single week. You can access them ongoing, and you get access to all of our daily community events. So I'd love to see you on the other side, and you can access it by using the link in the description box below. When you look at this concept or idea here of vulnerability, sometimes if somebody says to you something like, hey, I need support, and somebody tells you in a relationship, hey, I need more support in our relationship. That's a lot different than somebody saying, hey, for me, support is one of my biggest needs in a relationship. It's really important. And for me, that looks like you know, taking a turn to do chores around the house sometimes. And when it doesn't happen, it may not seem like a big deal to you. But for me, I almost receive that as like you not doing that, as you not like prioritizing or caring about me in the relationship. And I know that's not your intention, but that's how it lands for me based on what I'm really looking for and what I come to hope that we can have in our relationship. When you communicate and you give that context and you talk about how that affects you more vulnerably, it's a heck of a lot different than somebody saying, hey, I need more support. I need more support can land as anything. It can be like, oh, you need me to hug you more often. You need me to, it can be really anything under the sun. When you communicate with vulnerability and that clarity and you get specific and you talk about how it affects you when you don't have those things, but also in a non-blaming way, it allows somebody to actually hear where you're coming from, care about where you're coming from, and then be able to take the steps necessary to move the needle on facilitating that change. So these are 3 really important ingredients. I call these like our emergency ingredients if we're trying to move the needle in our relationships fast. And again, if you want to learn a lot more about your needs as a whole, so you can get started on some of these things, the link for that free course for 7 days is down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video in general or this channel as a whole, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell because I literally put out daily YouTube videos 7 days of the week for you to support you in your journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in future videos.